So, we're going to talk epoxy here for a minute. This is a paste epoxy, basically, Rocketpoxy G5000. And one of the reasons I prefer it to, say, like the Bob Smith stuff, I can't get this in the holes like I did with the Bob Smith stuff, but when you order it, you get the physical properties. You get all the instructions. It's just, you get so much more data with this stuff. And it tells you, you have your pot life, which is how long you have to work with it, 30 to 40 minutes. The handling time, 3 to 4 hours, is probably, I usually like to just wait for the full cure before I do any sanding or anything like that. But yeah, full cure, 6 to 8 hours, so this will be cured tomorrow morning. We'll see if I get around to sanding it and getting it to a good spot. But this is a 1-to-1 mix, just like the Bob Smith stuff. I'm going to weigh it out. It's always better if you can weigh it out, but you can do this stuff by eye. I have done it before by eye. Yeah. It should be good, and then he gives you, if you order it from Tim, you get all this stuff. It tells you how to do fin fillets and all that stuff. Yeah, and it even says here, full curing time is about 6 to 8 hours, and 24-hour cure is recommended for obtaining the highest strength. That should be no problem. Where I see that come in is when people build, specifically like the really high-power DMS motors from Aerotech. You have to build them and then epoxy in the forward closure. And people don't wait a full 24 hours. They launch after like the dry time or the full cure time. So it's my advice whenever you're doing stuff with epoxy is make sure you get a full 24 hours cure time. Unless you have some epoxy that has a like heat oven treatment type stuff. Rocketpoxy also comes with a dye. And you get way more of this dye than you way more of this dye than you actually need. I think I've got a couple of boxes of it around, or bottles of it. I remember the other time I've ordered Rocketpoxy. We will be using this. I love the black dye with the Rocketpoxy. Especially if you're doing like gluing and centering rings. You can dye the epoxy black, and if you have a natural colored fiberglass, you can see it really easy through there, so you know your rings are in the right spot, because you can just see through the tube and to where the rings are. We're going to give this a mix. We're going to be mixing 2 minutes. We'll put a timer on it. And I got to open these. Yep. They are taped, but I'm just going to cut the tape because I'm lazy. Let's see. Oh, yeah. It doesn't matter which part you start with. This is the peanut butter side versus the marshmallow fluff side. As you can see, smooth, creamy, peanut buttery. Make sure you keep your sticks separate or use different ends. Let me move the camera a little bit. And turn on your scale. I'm going to do what looks right for what I need for both fillets. Or half, basically, because this is going to be, half. I want kind of thicker fillets than I normally do. And if we keep the same stick, we'll know, well, we'll do that. That's 11. Let's do 20 grams each. You can always go back and add more. I don't use more than I need to. 16. Tiny bit more. There it is. I like to keep, whenever I make epoxy, I like to keep two types of epoxy, two separate ends of the scales, so I can mix them up. And then I take through there. Where does it? And this is a free compressor operation. It's a little bit weird on this end. Ooh. Yeah. 32 grams here. Total. So we're going to do up to 40 total. So I can do that half of that. Should be pretty close. That's 36 now. Sure. 9. Come on, 7, crap. 40. As long as you do a free compressor, one separate mixing, you can use those compressors to save yourself more money. And then I'm going to set a timer on this. 2 minutes. I'll start the timer. We're going to move the camera over the and mixing. We're going to go back over here to the Rocket. And this is going to be hard to fill it because of the nature of that being there to hold. There we go. This stuff is significantly harder to mix than like Bob Smith because it's a lot thicker. We're going to put the dye into, it's just 2 or 3 drops is all you need. We got the dye there. And you can see this just looks brown. It ends up just kind of looking just like the brown side, maybe a little lighter, a little grayish. And we'll put in, it's like food dye, I'm telling you. 2 or 3 drops of that. And this stuff is immediately jet black. I got a timer going. It should ding at me when 2 minutes is done. Scraping the sides, scraping the bottom, move it all around. I should have, I forgot to tape this. The fin's straight up, we're not going to have issues up and down, so. And we got plenty of time. 30-minute pop life. We're going to do 5 minutes of epoxy. I should continue mixing this. Oh, we're up. Our time's up. I should have done this part way earlier. And I'll do it earlier on the other fins for sure. This is what I get for not having like a shoot list or anything, or doing anything remotely professional. I get the camera rolling and I forget what I'm doing. And we just want to make it somewhat easy to deal with the excess. This is a little bit farther out. The old saying, grinder and paint make me the welder I ain't. Same is true for epoxying fin fillets. This might be easier to do not vertical, but we're going to see. Because I think this is still going to run a lot. This is still super liquid. going to continue mixing this for another 5 minutes and hopefully get some heat into it. I have a hot air gun here. If I lose a batch of epoxy, it's not the end of the world. But I'd like this to be less runny than that, because I'm not going to be able to put this on a vertical surface and have it stick. A little bit of heat will accelerate the curing process, or at least I hope so. If it does, it'll make it into the video. If it doesn't, it won't make it into the video. This is a hot air rework station for electronics work, but it's just hot air, so. We're going to go all the way down in the temp on this. This isn't Celsius, so. Let's see how low this will go. I think it's like 100, yeah. Oh yeah, it's already doing something. I want to get it warm, I don't want to melt the plastic. So, even 100 Celsius is boiling with water, so. Let's see what this does. We gander every now and then. Mix it up. A different little bit of this on top. Still really fluid. I'm just sitting with a hot air gun, hoping to kick off the cure. I think we might be doing this one side at a time, actually. So I'm going to set that down there and release that. We're not going to be doing it in the fin jig. We're going to be doing it here. Means probably only going to be doing one side of this fin at a time. We'll be doing these top two instead. Sometimes you have to adjust plans on the fly. Still really workable. So we are now not going to do one fin, we're going to be doing half of two fins. And we're just eyeballing about a ½ inch here. We're going to do the fin as well. And after this first one, I'll go through and I'll do up all the fins. globule in the center and work it out. And make sure we get that hole covered. Here, this globule out, I think 40 grams is going to be just about right. Excessive amounts of epoxy we use in rocketry. We want to have a bit excess. We want to cover all the way up to the tape. That go. Smooth these out. You want to do as good as you can because it's easier to smooth it out now than it is after the fact. But you can always go back and sand this, right? One thing I want to do is I know these fins are down here kind of in the fallout zone, so I kind of want to protect them if I can, because this is going to drip. Masking tape is super cheap. Well, it's actually not super cheap. This is like an $8 roll. Ridiculous! But anything to save me sanding time. Remember to mask beforehand. Don't be like me. Alright, one more piece of tape. Alright. Okay, most of that looks like it's not going to do much in the way of dripping. I don't care much if it gets on there. That's part of the process. I get that side too. Alright. Across the top. Let's add some heat. This will also, as a benefit, get rid of a bunch of air bubbles. Yeah, bump this up to about 150 Celsius. There's nothing scientific about this. I'm just trying to heat up the area. And I will continue doing this for a little bit. Kickstart. And then I'm going to scrape up some of the excess here, just to make it that much easier to deal with later. Alright. We'll come back in like 30 minutes. Alright, it's been about 30 minutes. We want to find the spot we can touch without screwing anything up. And it's a little pliable, but it is not flowing. So we're good to move on to the next area, which is going to be this side, I have decided. This side's going to come up a little bit too. We will mask beforehand now. And we're going to mix up another batch of epoxy after we're kind of done masking here. That's good. Alright, we'll need those for that section, but we'll reuse them down here to protect this section. Get a new piece for that area. This is mostly to protect against drips down here, so while I'm away and not looking at it, I don't want it to end up all drippy. Come in here, we'll do this side as well. Kind of get a start on it. Yeah, I think we're good. Alright, we're going to mix up another batch of epoxy. We're going to do these two sides. Yeah. We'll just continue our way around the fin can. I'll show you at the end. Well, it is now several hours later. And they're serviceable. They're big and juicy. They will work. Grinder and paint, maybe the welder I ain't. There's some big drips. But I'll just go over it. That's what power tools are for. I don't want to completely do this. I didn't get all the tape, but I mean the sander will get that. I just waited too long to take off the tape on some of these. I was trying to get in here and do them in 20 minutes a set, so that by the end I'd still have enough work time where it wouldn't be too hard to get the other ones off, but that was not the case. But the fillets themselves are really good. Everything else can be sanded, and will be. The only thing really left to epoxy here is to get another launch rail on, and actually when I get the tubing, get that stuff in there. There's the pile of masking tape. Until next time.